For 9 episodes, we've explored the crucial, often overlooked connection between nursing practice and revenue cycle management. Now, in the final installment of our special series, we focus on those who steer the ship, nursing leadership. Nurse executives, directors, managers, were you fully prepared to navigate both clinical excellence and the complex financial strategy essential for healthcare sustainability? Leading nursing today requires more than clinical mastery. It demands financial insight and the ability to champion processes that ensure the resources are there for exceptional patient care. Are you ready to elevate your leadership by embracing strategic RCM? The journey to financial empowerment culminates here. Welcome, for the final time in this series, to the Healthcare Nurses Network and Nurses Link Up mobile app podcast series. This is the conclusion of Breaking the Code, Nurses Unlocking Revenue Cycle Management. This series has been your essential guide, delivering the financial knowledge you deserve to navigate the full healthcare landscape effectively. In Episode 10, we define strategic RCM leadership, how nurse executives can drive financial health, written by Dr. Nicholas Abella. You'll discover the leadership imperative, why integrating RCM awareness in data-driven strategy is crucial for modern nurse executives, CNOs, directors, and managers. Driving change from the top, actionable strategies for leaders to educate staff, foster essential collaboration between clinical and financial teams, implement effective audits, and leverage RCM metrics. Aligning care and finance, how nursing leadership can bridge the gap, ensuring financial stability supports, rather than hinders, high-quality patient care. Guiding you through these essential leadership strategies are your hosts, ICU nurse, James Carter, BSN, RN, and nurse manager, Emily Ramirez, MSN, RN. The code is broken. Your RCM knowledge is power. Now use it to shape the future of healthcare.
Welcome back to the Healthcare Nurses Network podcast, where we are always striving to provide you with the tools and resources you need to thrive as nursing professionals.
Absolutely.
And to really make a difference in the lives of your patients.
And today we're going to get into a topic that's so crucial for healthcare organizations, but may not always be at the forefront of our minds when we're focused on delivering that exceptional patient care.
Right. It's the connection between nursing leadership and the financial well-being of our institutions.
Exactly. We're talking about strategic revenue cycle management leadership, or RCM leadership, and how nurse executives play a truly vital role in making sure their organizations are financially sound, which is absolutely essential to support the incredible patient care you all provide day in and day out.
It's true. And, I think a lot of times we might assume that finance is sort of a separate world from the hands-on patient care we do every day.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
But as we're going to explore today, these two worlds are actually deeply interconnected. And when nurse leaders really understand this link, it can make a huge difference for their teams and, of course, for the patients they serve.
Absolutely. And we're not just talking about abstract knowledge here. We're going to be discussing some very practical strategies and insights that you can actually implement in your own institutions to really make a tangible impact.
Perfect. So let's get right to it. Why is it so vital for nurse executives to be thinking about the financial health of their organizations?
Well, for starters, think about all the resources that are required to provide excellent patient care. Adequate staffing levels, state-of-the-art equipment, the necessary supply. All of these things cost money, right?
Of course.
And a financially healthy organization is in a much better position to provide these crucial resources consistently.
Makes sense. So it's not about choosing between excellent patient care or financial stability. It's about realizing that those two things actually go hand in hand.
Exactly. You can't really have one without the other. And when nurse leaders understand that connection between everyday nursing practices and the financial side of things, it allows them to implement strategies that support both high-quality care and a strong financial foundation.
So this isn't about cutting corners or sacrificing patient care for the sake of the bottom line.
Definitely not. The goal is really to optimize the processes that are already in place and to ensure that the organization has the financial stability to continue providing the best possible care.
Now, the materials that you shared also talked about a bit of a shift that's happening in nursing leadership roles. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so traditionally nursing leadership is really focused on patient care metrics. Things like infection rates, patient satisfaction, readmission rates, all those important indicators.
Right, and of course, those remain absolutely crucial.
Absolutely.
That
With the increasing pressures on healthcare systems to remain financially viable, there's this growing recognition that nurse leaders need to broaden their perspective and incorporate a solid understanding of financial metrics and RCM into their strategies as well.
Okay. So what would that look like in practice? What are some of the tangible benefits that a healthcare organization might see when nursing teams embrace this kind of RCM leadership?
Well, one of the biggest benefits is a reduction in claim denials.
Oh, I bet that makes a big difference.
It really does.
Yeah.
When documentation is more accurate and thorough, it can significantly decrease the likelihood of those claims being denied, which saves everyone time and resources.
Absolutely. Dealing with claim denials can be such a headache for everybody involved.
It really can. And it's not just about avoiding denials, it's also about making the entire billing process more efficient and ensuring that all the care that's provided is accurately coded and billed for in a timely manner.
So how can nurse executives actually begin to weave these RCM principles into their everyday leadership practices? Are there any specific strategies that we can look at?
Definitely one of the most important things is to really focus on educating and empowering the nursing staff.
Makes sense. If the nurses who are providing that direct patient care understand the link between their work and the financial side of things, they're going to be much more likely to be engaged.
Exactly. So think about practical workshops on things like medical coding billing practices, even real-world case studies that show how accurate documentation directly impacts the hospital's revenue.
Right. So instead of just being told to document in a certain way, they understand why it matters in the larger scheme of things.
Exactly. And another really important strategy is to foster better collaboration between different departments.
Okay.
So often the nursing teams and the billing and coding departments kind of operate in their own separate silos, and that can lead to miscommunications and inefficiencies.
Absolutely. How can we bridge that gap?
Well, one effective way is to implement regular joint meetings where nurses and billing staff can come together to talk about any challenges they're facing, share successful documentation strategies, and just get on the same page.
Love that idea. It's all about teamwork, right?
Absolutely. And another key practice is to establish a system for regular documentation audits.
Oh, so it's like a quality check, but specifically for documentation.
Exactly. These audits help to ensure that nursing practices align with the requirements for accurate billing, and they can also help to identify any common errors or areas where improvements can be made.
I see. So it's kind of a proactive approach to preventing problems down the line.
Precisely. And finally, one more strategy that could be really effective is to integrate RCM metrics into performance evaluations.
Interesting. So how would that work?
Well, for example, a nurse director could include a metric that assesses the thoroughness and accuracy of a nurse's documentation as part of their annual review.
So it really sends the message that this is an important part of their overall performance.
Exactly. It shows that contributing to the financial health of the organization is a shared responsibility, and it's valued.
Now, I know we've talked about a lot of strategies, but what are some practical steps that nurse leaders can take to actually start implementing these ideas?
So first and foremost, they need to develop and implement those RCM training programs we talked about.
Right, making sure that nurses understand their role in the revenue cycle.
Exactly. Second, it's crucial to create clear feedback channels so that billing staff can easily share information about documentation errors and suggestions for improvement with the nursing teams.
That open communication is so important.
It really is. And finally, nurse leaders need to set clear expectations regarding documentation and billing practices, and then use those documentation audits we talked about to ensure compliance and drive continuous improvement.
Now, I know that when we talk about RCM with nursing staff, there's often a concern that it's just going to add to their already very heavy workloads.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Nurses are already so incredibly busy, and the thought of having to think about financial matters on top of everything else can feel overwhelming.
So how can we address that concern and reframe the conversation?
The key is to emphasize that streamlined documentation and a better understanding of RCM can actually save nurses time in the long run.
Oh, interesting. So it's not about adding more work, it's about making their existing work more efficient.
Exactly. Think about it. If documentation is done correctly the first time, it reduces the need for time-consuming clarifications or having to go back and fix errors later.
And of course, leveraging technology can also play a big role here.
Absolutely. Well-designed EHRs with built-in prompts and reminders can make a huge difference in terms of efficiency and accuracy.
It's all about working smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly. And this leads us to the idea of leading with financial insight.
Okay.
Nurse leaders need to integrate RCM into their leadership approach so that it becomes just a natural part of how they lead and support their teams.
So it's not just a separate initiative, it's woven into the fabric of the organization.
Precisely. And this empowers nursing teams to not only deliver excellent care,
Yeah.
but also to understand and contribute to the financial health of the organization as a whole.
So it's really a win-win situation for everyone involved.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you know what's so fascinating is how these two things that might seem completely separate,
Yeah.
clinical care and financial management,
Right.
are actually so interconnected.
They really are.
To be truly effective nurse leaders today, need to have a solid understanding of both.
It's true. And, thinking about all of this, it makes me wonder how many of our listeners out there are already incorporating some of these RCM strategies into their own work.
Right, or how they might think about implementing one or two of these ideas in their own organization.
Exactly. And if you're looking for more resources and support on this journey, we encourage you to visit our website at healthcarenurses.net or download our Nurses Link Up app, which you can find on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
We're always here to help you connect with other nursing professionals, access valuable insights, and really thrive in your careers.
And to stay up to date on all the latest episodes and resources, make sure you're subscribed to our podcast.
Yes, definitely do that.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthcare Nurses Network podcast.
We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.